what we see is our songs should have musical accompaniment, and they should be songs of praise. Is it a requirement that worship within the church has musical accompaniment? I do not believe it is. Historically, the church has at times avoided musical accompaniment in worship. Why? For a very practical reason. The church was under persecution. How much ruckus do you want to raise? Okay, if they found a church meeting, they persecuted them. They took them in, and gladiators got to use them as punching bags. They threw them to lions and got to watch them be torn apart. How much ruckus do you want to raise? Do you want to bring in the band? Not such a good idea. Sometimes musical accompaniment within worship is not practical. Is it mandatory? No. Is it prohibited? No. If you read through the book of Psalms, what you'll find at the beginning of the Psalms is a note. And the note is actually in the Hebrew text. A psalm of whoever wrote it. For the leader of music, with accompaniment with stringed instrument, whatever. Psalms were written as accompaniment, but what I want you to see is when we see this word psalm used in the New Testament, it refers consistently to the book of Psalms. This is what Jesus was saying when Moses, the prophets, and the Psalms refer to Jesus Christ. He's referring to the Psalms. Some people argue that we should sing only Psalms in church. I don't agree with that. And let me tell you why. Hymns were the Greek expression of praise. The word hymn is only used in the New Testament in reference to Gentile worship. So what were the Psalms? Jewish expressions of worship. What were the hymns? Gentile expressions of worship. And what are we supposed to use? Jewish and Gentile expressions of worship. Well, man, that makes a whole lot of sense. Hey, let me give you some thoughts. Can I read a little bit from the book of Psalm? If you want to follow me there, Psalm 84. I just want to read some verses to you real quick. Starting in verse 1. How lovely are your dwelling places, O Lord of hosts. My soul longed and even yearned for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh sing for joy to the living God. How did we start church this morning? How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord Almighty. My soul longs and even faints for you. And then we go on and we read in verse 10, for a day in your courts is better than 1,000 outside. Golly, this is a beautiful statement. I would rather stand at the threshold, not even come in. I would rather stand at the threshold of the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of the wicked. And what did we sing this morning? Better is one day in your courts, Lord. Better is one day in your house than thousands elsewhere. Hey, we got to sing the Psalms this morning. What about hymns? What about songs of praise? I want to give you some examples of songs of praise. You got your hymnal there? Turn to hymn number 48. Hymn number 48 says this. I sing the mighty power of God that made the mountains rise, that spread the flowing seas abroad and built the lofty skies. I sing the wisdom that ordained the sun to rule the day. The moon shines full at His command, and all the stars obey. That is a hymn. It's a song of praise. Do me a favor, if you have your hymnal, turn one page to the right. From the highest of heights to the depths of the sea, creation's revealing your majesty. From the colors of fall to the fragrance of spring, every creature unique in the song that it sings, all exclaiming, indescribable, uncontainable. You place the stars in the sky and you know them by name. You're amazing, God. You know what's funny? That one is copyright 2004. I Sing the Mighty Power of God was written by Isaac Watts. People that lived hundreds of years apart. They're both equally hymns. Because what is the definition of a hymn? It's a song of praise. Does a song have to be 100 years old to be a hymn? No, you can write a hymn today. Go home and write one. It'd be great. If it's really good, we'll sing it. If it's really not, we'll add it to my list of songs that I've written that are not really good. So it'll be great. Move on. C, spiritual songs. Pneumatikos, spiritual. The word for spiritual, in its strictest definition, refers to the human spirit. Those that were in Sunday school, what are the 3 rules of biblical interpretation? You must follow the point number 1, context. Point number 2, context. And point number 3, context. Here's the context, the use of this word. When you find this word used in the New Testament, it's used when Paul says spiritual gifts. It is used when Paul says spiritual blessings. So then what it refers to is the part of man that when he is reborn is made alive in Christ. Songs, ode. Here's a Greek word for you. You know what that word means? Songs. Well, that one's rough. Okay. Spiritual songs. What are spiritual songs? Spiritual songs are songs that are written either out of a spiritual experience or out of a revealed spiritual understanding. Annie, back up to It Is Well With My Soul. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, Thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. How many of you know the story behind this hymn? The man who wrote it lost his entire family in a transatlantic voyage. And when he was making the trip across the ocean, he had asked the ship's captain, let me know when we get to the point where the ship was lost, where I lost my family. And he stood over that spot and he wrote that. And he said, God, I have lost the people I love more dearly than anyone on the face of this earth. Yet, Lord, I will praise you. Now that's a spiritual song. Amazing Grace is a spiritual song. Why was Amazing Grace written? The man who wrote it was a slave trader. He was on a ship trading slaves, and he was caught in a storm, and he thought he was going to die, and he reflected on his life, and he knew it was all loss. And he said, God, if you will be merciful to me, a sinner, save me. That's a spiritual song. Does it have value within the church? Yes. So, what should our songs do? Number 1, they should, as our pastor says for his $5 word, catechize the church. They should teach the church. They should reflect truth. They should encourage the body. And they should be a cultural reflection. Why do I bring this up? What's so important about psalms and hymns? You're looking at Colossians 3. I want you to back up to Colossians 3:11. Better yet, let's start in verse 9, but I want to concentrate on verse 11. Do not lie to one another, since you laid aside the old self with its evil practices and have put on the new self, who is being renewed to a true knowledge according to the image of the one who created him. A renewal in which there is no distinction between Greek or Jew, circumcised or uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, slave and free man, but Christ is all and in all. What's he saying? Jew and Gentile. Guys, within the early church, that was the big clash. The Jews had things they did that the Gentiles did not approve of. And the Gentiles had a lot of things they did that were offensive to Jewish people. You eat pork? Ah! Jews don't eat pork. I had a friend, a preacher, who when he was in college had a friend who was Muslim and was coming to the country to go to school and didn't know much about the country. And my friend, not recognizing some of the things that those who practice Islam find offensive, he was trying to take him around and introduce him to things. And so he took him out to like a Chinese restaurant, hamburgers, took him to a ballpark, and he was trying to tell him, man, you need to try a hot dog. Hot dogs are the greatest thing ever. And he's like, what is a hot dog? He said, well, it's hard to explain what it is, but just eat it. You'll like it. And so the guy ate the hot dog, and they just microwaved it right there at the house, and he ate the hot dog, and he said, man, the hot dog was good. What's in the hot dog? And he went and read the ingredients. And when he read the word pork, Reggie said he ran through the bathroom because he had to get that pork out of his body. He was repulsed by pork. Why do I give you this illustration? Because within the early church, the Gentiles did things that were equally repulsive to the Jews.